People think road trips are harmless. Just long drives, gas station snacks, and late-night playlists. But if you talk to enough travelers, deep into old police reports, scattered Reddit threads, and the stories that never stay online for long, you'll realize something else. The road has teeth every mile you drive. You're moving through places where others vanished. Places where stories bled into rumors, and rumors into warnings. These aren't campfire tales. They're accounts from real people who swore they'd never speak about what they saw again. Some made it home. Some didn't. Tonight, I'm going to tell you some of them. Not legends. Not fiction. Stories pulled from the black veins of highways that stretch across this country, where silence is louder than any scream. And if you've ever taken a late-night trip, you'll know exactly why the road should never be trusted. If you've ever taken a late-night road trip, you know that silence isn't comforting. It's the loudest sound in the world. Headlights carve a narrow tunnel through the dark. Your tires hum against the asphalt, and every mile marker feels like it's watching you instead of guiding you. You tell yourself it's just the emptiness of the highway. Just the way your brain reacts to the lack of noise, but deep down, you know something else is out there. That's the part nobody warns you about. The road has a memory. Every traveler leaves something behind. Sometimes it's just rubber on the pavement. Sometimes it's more. What I'm about to share with you isn't just one story, it's a pattern. People who thought the road was safe, until it wasn't. Some of them survived to talk about it. Others. Their names ended up in missing persons reports, their cars abandoned at rest stops, their belongings scattered like breadcrumbs leading nowhere. And if you've ever scrolled too far down certain forums, or stumbled across deleted threads, you'll know exactly the kind of stories I'm talking about. There's one tale that's still burned into my mind. A story about a stretch of road out west. If you followed unsolved cases, you might already recognize the name. The newspapers never connected it, but those of us who've been there, we know. And once I tell you what really happened, you'll never look at that empty strip of highway the same way again. You see, freedom is what the open road promises you. Music turned up, windows down, the whole country stretched in front of you. But when the miles pile up and the darkness settles in, that freedom twists into something else. You start to wonder if you're choosing the road, or if the road is choosing you. Let me start with my own story, the one that keeps me off highways to this day. If you ever see someone waving on Route 19, don't stop. That's the advice I wish someone had given me years ago. Before I learned the hard way that not every stranded soul on the highway is meant to be saved, it was past midnight. The kind of hour when the road feels endless and your own thoughts start to sound louder than the radio. I'd been driving for hours, eyelids heavy, when I saw her. A woman standing at the shoulder, her arm raised, fingers flicking in that familiar hitchhiker's gesture. She wore a pale coat, too thin for the chill that seeped through my windows, and her hair blew wild across her face. I slowed down because I was raised to be decent, because she looked desperate, because the empty road felt crueler with her left behind. She climbed in with a quiet thank you and settled into the passenger seat. I noticed her hands first, cold as stone when I brushed against them, but I told myself it was just the night air. "Where are you headed?" I asked. She looked straight ahead, voice flat but polite. "Past this stretch?" "Always past this stretch." I didn't think much of it at first. People say odd things when they're tired. But the way she repeated it, "past this stretch," like the words were a mantra, stuck with me. For a while, we drove in silence. I tried to start small talk, asking her name, if she had family nearby, but her answers never added up. One moment she said she was going home. The next, she said she was trying to leave home behind. And then the strangeness began to pile up. At first, I noticed the mile marker, 42. Then another few minutes passed, and it was 42 again. I laughed it off, told myself I must have misread it. But after the third 42, the joke curdled in my throat. I glanced at her reflection in the side window. Only there wasn't one. Just the streak of headlights gliding past, the faint outline of my own face in the glass. I turned my eyes back to the road, heart thudding harder than it should have. "You okay?" I asked, my voice sounding too casual, too forced. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Most people don't make it past this stretch." Her words stuck like ice in my chest. The next time I dared look at her, she was staring at me as if she'd been waiting for me to notice. Her gaze didn't blink, didn't waver. I pressed harder on the gas, as if speed itself could outrun whatever was happening inside my car. Finally, a sign appeared. Hollow Creek 2, 2 miles. Relief surged through me. A town meant people, safety, explanation. "Almost there," I said. She tilted her head, the smallest shake of her head. "That place doesn't exist anymore." My mouth went dry. 2 miles later, the sign for Hollow Creek appeared again. And then again. Each time I drove on, the same battered green sign appeared at the roadside, as if the road was mocking me, looping me in its own private nightmare. "Let me out here," she whispered suddenly. I slammed the brakes. We were surrounded by nothing but fields and darkness. No town in sight, no lights but my own. Still, she reached for the door, pushed it open, stepped onto the gravel. I shouted after her, some part of me still clinging to normalcy, still hoping this was just exhaustion playing tricks on me. "Wait, are you sure this is where you need to be?" She turned just once, and her smile was different this time. Sad, almost gentle. "You've been kind. Don't make the same mistake twice." And then she was gone. Not walked away. Not faded into the night gone. One blink, and there was nothing but the empty road stretching behind me. I didn't sleep when I finally made it home. Instead, I looked up Hollow Creek. There were old records, mentions in newspapers, even some faded maps that listed it. But every article ended the same way. The town was destroyed in a fire nearly 30 years ago. No survivors. I shut my laptop and sat there in the silence. The same silence that fills the road at night. The kind that isn't comforting. The kind that follows you home. And I swear to you sometimes, when I drive that same highway, I see a figure ahead, arm raised, waiting for me to stop again. But that wasn't the only time the road betrayed me. I've learned something. About long road trips, the real horror doesn't hit you in the daylight. It waits for the hours when the world seems empty, when even the truckers have vanished and every highway sign feels like it's pointing you somewhere you're not supposed to go. That was the night me and two friends pulled into a gas station at 3 a.m. We were low on fuel, stomachs buzzing from too much caffeine, half laughing to keep ourselves awake. The station's neon sign flickered like it was on its last breath. But it was the only light for miles, so we pulled in. The first thing that hit me was the stillness. No other cars at the pumps. No insects buzzing around the lights. Just our reflection in the glass. Inside, the place looked wrong. At first glance, it was normal enough snack aisles, refrigerators humming, a clerk behind the counter. But there were no clocks. Not on the walls. Not on the register. Not even on the microwave that usually blinks at you in these forgotten roadside stations. And every price tag was handwritten in chalk. Not stickers. Not digital screens. Chalk smudged and uneven. Like someone erased them and rewrote them over and over again. "Creepy decor," my buddy Mark joked, grabbing a soda. But when he went to pay, the clerk didn't scan it. Didn't even look at him. Just stared and said, $2? Mark tried to hand over a card, but the guy just shook his head. Cash only. His voice was flat, like a recording. The weirdest part? He didn't blink. I stood there long enough to notice his eyes were wide, unbroken, like he was locked in some trance. We should have left then, but exhaustion makes you ignore your gut. I bought a coffee. Jen grabbed chips. And we walked out with bags heavier than our comfort level. That's when I noticed the sign above the pumps. Closed since 1975. I laughed nervously, thinking it was some kind of retro branding, but Jen pulled out her phone to check Google Maps. The gas station wasn't there. Not just this one. There was no station listed at all. Just a blank stretch of highway. "Maybe it's new," Mark said. But the chalk tags told another story. Here's the part that really eats at me. When we pulled back onto the road, I checked the rear view. The station wasn't behind us anymore. Just darkness. We didn't talk about it until 20 minutes later when Jen whispered, "Don't freak out, but do you see that?" Up ahead, glowing faintly, was the same flickering neon sign. Same parking lot. Same glass door. Did we turn around? Mark asked, panic edging into his voice. We hadn't. I was watching the odometer. The miles were climbing. The gas gauge was dropping. And yet there it was. We drove past it this time, hearts hammering. But it didn't shrink into the distance the way things should. It just faded, like it sank into the night air itself. I know what you're thinking. Maybe we were tired. Maybe our brains invented it. But I've seen posts online, threads that disappear after a day or two of people describing the same station. The chalk prices. The unblinking clerk. The roads that fold you back into the same place, no matter how fast you go. Some people claim it's a trap meant to keep travelers in limbo. Others think it's a relic of a time that refuses to die. Here's the kicker. When I checked my wallet later, the receipt wasn't paper. It was a torn scrap of a road map, the kind they don't even print anymore, so if you've seen this station, you'll know what I mean. People in the comments will say they've been there, too, I guarantee it. Maybe you already have, and just didn't realize it. I thought I'd escaped, but the roads always lead somewhere darker. Watch closely. Maybe you'll notice what I missed. We were 3 cars deep, a little caravan of friends heading cross-country. That kind of trip where you take turns blasting music, pull over at sketchy diners, and joke about horror movies when the night gets too quiet. Safety in numbers, that was the rule. Nobody felt alone with 6 of us spread across 3 vehicles, but somewhere past the state line. After midnight, another set of headlights appeared in my rear view, then another black SUVs. Identical tinted windows. No plates I could make out at first. I didn't care. Highways pull strangers together all the time. But an hour passed, then 2, and every time I checked the mirror, they were still there. Same distance, same formation. Like shadows glued to us. I radioed Mark in the car ahead. "You see those guys behind me?" He chuckled, trying to brush it off. "Yeah, convoy. Probably military." But the more I watched, the less it felt like coincidence. Their headlights never wavered, never closed in, or fell back. Perfectly steady. By the 3rd hour, Jin riding with me was chewing her nails raw. "They're following us," she whispered. Not a question. I wanted to laugh, to dismiss it. But then something clicked. I hadn't seen a single exit sign for miles. No ramps, no lights, just endless blacktop and those silent SUVs. We finally decided to pull off onto the shoulder. All 3 cars slowed down, hazard lights flashing. Gravel crunched under my tires as I rolled to a stop. The convoy behind us slowed too, and then, gone, no screeching tires, no turnoff, no sound of engines fading into the night. One moment they were there, 6 beams of light slicing the dark, and the next the road was empty. Mark jumped out of his car, pacing, swearing under his breath. Tell me I didn't imagine that? We stood there, shivering in the cold night air, waiting for another set of lights to appear, but nothing came, just silence. Stretching out like the whole world was holding its breath, it wasn't until the next morning that things got worse. Over cheap diner coffee, one of my friends pulled out the dashcam card. "Proof?" he said, forcing a laugh. We crowded around the tiny screen, eager for reassurance. The footage showed miles of empty highway. Our cars. The darkness, but no SUVs. Not one. Hours of video, and the road was empty except for us. I can still feel the bottom dropping out of my stomach, because I knew what I'd seen. I know what all of us saw. Yet the camera, cold and unblinking, told another story. Nothing had been there at all. Maybe you'll catch what I missed. If this video has a thumbnail, pause it. Look in the corner of the frame. Sometimes the camera picks up what the eye can't, and if you see the shapes of black SUVs where there should be none. Let me know in the comments. Convoys, gas stations, hitchhikers, it all feels connected. Like the road itself feeds on us, The thing about these stories is, they aren't random. They fit into a pattern. It's like the road has its own set of rules, spoken, unwritten, but whispered by people who've seen too much. Some of these rules sound like folklore. Others read like survival guides. I've seen them scattered across Reddit threads, half buried in forgotten forums. Posts that vanish a day after they're shared. Sometimes the accounts that post them disappear too, as if whoever wrote them was swallowed up by the same. Highways they warned us about. The first rule is simple. Never stop at the same gas station twice. No matter how much you think you recognize the building, no matter how badly you need fuel, don't do it. Travelers say those places aren't stationary. They move, they feed. And if they remember you, they won't let you leave the second time. The second, don't pick up passengers after midnight. Doesn't matter if it's raining, if they look harmless, if they beg. After midnight, the road doesn't give you passengers. It gives you bait. The third, if a car follows you for more than an hour, don't slow down. Don't pull over. Don't signal. Just keep driving. Some say those cars aren't cars at all. Some say they're scouts, waiting for you to blink, to falter. And once you stop, the road decides you're finished. Of course, there are other rules too. Don't look too long into mirrors while you're driving. Don't trust road signs that point you to towns you've never heard of. And if you see headlights behind you that suddenly switch off, you pray. Now I know how it sounds paranoid rambling, but think about it. Rules don't come from nowhere. Someone had to learn them the hard way. Someone had to break them first. Maybe you've heard others. If you have, drop them in the comments. People laugh at stuff like this until they're staring down an empty highway at 3 in the morning, trying to remember which stories were just campfire lies and which were warnings. Of course, rules don't always save you. Ask the couple from the next story. If your GPS ever freezes, turn back immediately. Don't convince yourself it's nothing. Don't assume it'll recalculate, because sometimes when it gives up on you, it's because the road already has other plans. I learned that lesson the night I was driving with someone I loved, or at least someone I thought I loved. We were arguing something stupid, something that didn't matter. I don't even remember what sparked it, only the sharp edge in her voice. The way I gripped the steering wheel too hard, and the tension that made every mile feel longer than it was. And maybe that's why I missed the turn. One wrong exit. And suddenly the highway narrowed, the air heavier somehow. The pavement cracked in a way I didn't recognize. Like a vein splitting open, my girlfriend huffed in the passenger seat, scrolling on her phone. Just follow the GPS, she said. So I did. But then the screen froze. Bright blue arrows stuck in the middle of nowhere, spinning in circles, no signal, no service. That's when I muttered the words that should have told me everything. I knew we were screwed when even Google Maps gave up on us. She laughed, bitter and short. Figures. We drove on in silence. Trees leaned closer to the road, branches like crooked arms. And then the landmarks began. First, an old, sagging billboard, Eat at Mary's Diner. A few minutes later, there it was again. Same peeling paint, same crooked letters. I told myself it was coincidence. Highways recycle ads, right? Except then came the gas station. A tiny shack with one pump, dim lights, and a rusting roof. We passed it once, twice, 3 times. Each time identical. That's impossible, she whispered. We should have hit another town by now. Her voice had lost the anger, replaced by something colder, fear, and the truth is, I felt it too. Every loop was like the road was folding us into itself. It's chewing us like gum that never loses flavor. Finally, desperate, I saw a neon sign flicker ahead. A diner, Mary's Diner. But this one looked alive, glowing windows, cars parked outside. Relief crashed over me. Civilization, a way out. We pulled into the lot, gravel crunching under the tires. I let out a laugh, shaky but real. See. Just a detour. Then I saw it. Our car. Same model, same dent in the bumper, same sticker peeling off the back window. Sitting there, engine cold, as if we'd already arrived. My girlfriend's hand clutched mine so tight it hurt. That's us, she whispered. I wanted to argue, to rationalize, but I couldn't take my eyes off the windshield of that parked car. Because for just a second, I thought I saw movement inside. A shadow, a figure leaning forward, mirroring us, exactly. Like a reflection waiting for the glass to break. I slammed the gear shift into reverse. Tires squealing, the neon glow shrinking in the rear view as we tore away. We didn't speak for miles, didn't look at each other, just prayed the road would finally straighten out. When we found the real highway again, it was dawn. Neither of us dared mention the diner. We broke up not long after. Maybe it was inevitable. Maybe the road just wanted us apart. But I think about it sometimes. About the other car. About the two figures we thought we saw through the glass. And I wonder if they're still sitting there. Parked forever, trapped in a loop we barely escaped. The scariest stories aren't even supernatural. Sometimes it's just people. This one wasn't a ghost, it was worse, see? The supernatural leaves you with questions, with shadows and whispers. But people? People leave bodies. And the road is the perfect place for them to hunt. I was on a solo drive. I was cutting through 3 states to get home for the holidays. The kind of trip where you snack on gas station candy, sing along to static-riddled stations, and tell yourself the hours are passing faster than they are. That's when I noticed the truck big. Old-fashioned, with a cab that looked stitched together from rust and rage. It slid into my rear view just outside the state line, headlights glaring too bright, too close. At first I brushed it off. Trucks follow cars all the time. But after 50 miles, it was still there. After 100 miles, still there. I changed lanes. It changed lanes. I slowed down. It slowed down by the second night. I was gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles ached. I finally called 911. 911. What's your emergency? I don't know if this counts, but there's this truck that's been following me since yesterday. Pause. Keys clicking. The dispatcher's voice calm, dismissive. Sir, the highways are full of trucks. This isn't random. He's been tailing me for 3 states. He mimics everything I do. He's not passing, not pulling off, just sticking to me. Another pause. Are you sure you're not just nervous? Long drives can, I'm sure. My voice cracked louder than I meant. Please, just tell me what to do, she sighed, and I could almost hear the shrug in her tone. If you feel threatened, pull into a populated area. A gas station, a rest stop. Somewhere well lit. But that's the thing. I had. And every time I slowed down, he stayed back. Lights dimming, engine humming like he was waiting. And the moment I pulled out, he pulled out too. By the 3rd night, sleep-deprived and frantic, I decided to test it. I took an exit, a random turn-off into a stretch of cracked, forgotten road. The truck followed. I pulled over on the shoulder, hands shaking. The truck slowed behind me, its headlights washing my car in pale white. For 1 second I thought the door might open, that someone would step out. Instead, the lights blinked off. Darkness swallowed everything. And then, nothing. No engine, no footsteps, no retreating glow. Just gone. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't stop driving until the morning light finally touched the road. It wasn't until 2 days later that I saw the news article. Headline: Serial killer caught along I-40 corridor. Mugshot grainy, truck description uncanny. A monster with a record of stalking drivers until they pulled off somewhere quiet. I read every detail. Every victim. Every timeline. And here's the part that won't leave me. The dates didn't match up exactly. He was arrested the same week I was on the road. Which means either he was following me, or someone else was. Maybe the truck behind me belonged to him. Maybe it belonged to someone still out there. Some nights, I still catch myself checking the mirror more than I should, waiting for those headlights to appear again. Some people ask why I still tell these stories. Maybe because if I don't, the road wins. I'm back behind the wheel again. Headlights carving tunnels through the dark, tires singing the same endless note against the asphalt. You'd think after everything I've seen, I'd stay home, avoid highways altogether. But the truth is, The road doesn't let go. It waits. And sooner or later, it pulls you back. Every mile feels familiar, like I've driven it before. Maybe I have. Maybe I never left. The road has a way of folding over itself, trapping you in loops until you forget where you started, until you don't care where you're headed. And the worst part? It always feels normalant. It doesn't. That's the trick of it. The open road promises freedom, escape, adventure, but when the music cuts out, when the GPS stutters, and the silence swells too heavy, you realize freedom is just another word for being lost. And the highway is the hungriest thing you'll ever meet. So next time you're driving at night, do me a favor. Check the rear view. If you see what I siff, the headlights never blink. If the shapes don't match, the reflections don't blink either. Just keep moving. Because once you notice, it notices you back. These are the stories I can share. The ones that leave me awake long after the engine cools. But there's one I'll never tell. One road I won't speak of, because saying its name is an invitation, and you wouldn't survive it. Anyway, tell me your road trip horror stories in the comments. Maybe I'll share them next time. Maybe the road already has.